now we can meet at the table, but now I'm just going to debunk.
Why are we letting
and
this
show that
retard spew his precept garbage?
Oh well, rip. So if oh man, I got distracted now. So if you are going to affirm a different type of transcendental, then I would attack you on different grounds. But from an atheist perspective, we don't have to go there. You need to give me grounds for how you can know anything for certain. And when we say certain, we mean 100%, anything.
Anyway, yeah, first thing I heard, so you kind of went on a bit of a minor detail about knowledge. I'm also not convinced that an atheist, at least on the standard accounts of knowledge and philosophy, I'm not convinced that an agnostic has to believe that they know anything at all, right, on the standard accounts of knowledge and philosophy.
Okay, great. Then you don't know if God doesn't exist, right? That's not a defeater for the Christian God. And the proposition is either the Christian God exists or not, right? Either the Christian God exists or not, correct?
I wasn't finished there, yeah. And furthermore, nothing I actually heard from you was a form of a contradiction. And so all I was wondering from you is what two propositions formed a contradiction. But it seems like what I heard you say earlier was that you're just refusing to give them.
Okay, so now you're lying. Okay, so once you start lying, you're going to just get muted. So I explained to you the contradiction. Now, because I'm not willing to put it into this box that you want me to put it in, and the fact that you are unwilling to engage unless I adhere to your exact formulation of how you'd like me to answer is dishonest. And if that's what is going to happen in this conversation, then the conversation's over. So I explained to you the contradiction. If you want to contend and show that that's not a contradiction or how that's not a contradiction, then you can do that. But all you're doing is objecting to the form in which I'm demonstrating the contradiction. What I'm saying is, when you invoke a fact, okay, without the necessity and the acknowledgement that God exists, okay, you have contradicted yourself because you're saying, I can know something for certain. That's what a fact is. You started to mention how, we don't have to know anything for certain in the agnostic worldview. Okay, well then that means you don't know that thing that you just said, right? If you don't know anything for certain, then you don't even know if what you just said was true. So there's no point in us having a conversation, because why would I speak to someone who doesn't know if they exist, who doesn't know if the laws of logic are real, who doesn't know if they have an identity, who doesn't know any particular set of propositions? None.
Wait,
you don't know one single thing.
Can you present an argument for this epistemic infallibilist view?
Okay, well, if you like to reset the conversation, I don't know what. Can you ask
me
a specific question?
Why are you talking about certainty? That's going to be a constitutive of epistemology. What's your theory of knowledge? No theory of knowledge commits to infallibilism.
My theory of knowledge, my epistemological theory of knowledge is transcendental. So any other form is completely arbitrary, and it would just be I think, therefore I am,
that theory is nominal. I want a semantic thesis of what the epistemic framework actually is.
Okay, dude, go outside, man. Go outside.
Yeah, you're being listen, retard. Saying that my epistemic. Sorry. Listen.
Yeah, all right. I just want to talk to normal people, so I don't really want to talk to these guys that are going to throw 16,000 dictionary words.
Okay. I have a question.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you're just saying, just to make sure I understand. So you're saying that we need God in specific in order to ground knowledge, and this is where we derive things from, right?
So are you trying to make a point? Because I could just answer briefly.
No, I just want to ask you, what's your argument? Are you just saying that God is the grounding for all knowledge or something?
I'll fully explain. So, for instance, you can have a theory of knowledge which is empiric. That's fine, right? You can say,
what do you mean by that? Do you just mean what is true with respect to reality?
What do I mean by empiric?
No, I'm just asking, do you just mean what is true with respect to reality? I see a car outside, that'll be an empirical claim, and that'll be true with respect to reality.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish my full sentence, so maybe then you'll understand. So, What I'm saying is that you can have different theories of belief, and there are different theories of beliefs inside God's world. That's true. So there's people that reject God, and they say, well, I don't need God. I can just know things because I can measure them, right? So what is true, right, is what I can measure with scientific instruments or with some form of empiric system, okay? That's what's true. Other people will say, you know what, I don't even need to know the science. I don't even need to know why at a fundamental level this thing works. If it works, it just works. That's called pragmatism, right? Issue, so just with these two worldviews, the issue is ultimately they're arbitrary. ultimately a pragmatic worldview is just your opinion, right, on something, and it's ultimately not grounded in anything other than your own mind, which you can't you can't account for on its own, right? And this is exactly, I'm stealing this all from Dr. Bonson, so I'm not smart. This is all Dr. Bonson's some of his lectures.
We all know this idiot isn't smart. Like what?
So, like in the empiricist worldview, right? You can show me a measurement, right, that says that from here to the moon is however long, and that's what you believe is a fact. But how do you know in 100, 200, 300, 1,000, 1,400 years from now, we won't find some new way of measuring and realize that our measurement before was actually inaccurate, right? And that fact, okay, will continue in perpetuity. That will always be the case in an empirical world. So what I'm saying, in order for you to know anything for certain, okay, you would have to have a theory of knowledge that goes back to God. Because that's something you can't be wrong about.
What's the argument for that?
I just gave it. Every other worldview would be arbitrary and ultimately unjustified. So the only rational position that gives us any form of reasoning would be a transcendental form of reasoning, and specifically one that affirms.
So just to make sure I understand. Okay, so just to make sure I understand, you're saying that empiricism or whatever, for instance, when you measure the distance between here to the moon or whatever, our measurement could be wrong at such and such time.
Well, it could be the measurement could be wrong. Your eyeballs could be wrong. You could be deluded. You could be dreaming. Do you think there are any? You could be a hive mind. There's
okay,
like
okay,
a
okay, wait.
There's an okay. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. I'm the host.
Okay, I'm sorry because I don't.
We're here to ask me questions.
All right, yeah,
right?
Sure.
And I'm leading. Thank you. So this is my room. This is at this point. So don't do that to me. Okay, I'm directing the room. I don't mind letting you speak, but don't cut me off when I'm hosting. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so do you think there are any? Okay, I mean, so do you think independent of God, you can like obtain any facts about reality whatsoever?
Can you explain to me how you would?
I mean,
can you tell me one thing?
I mean, I think you existing is a fact.
This is what they always like to run to. What is existing? What does that mean?
It's just a what is existence? I guess it's just something. Okay, well, the way I define existence is just something that is actual.
Something that is actual. And would you say, based on your epistemology, that is going to have a different definition, right? What is actual? So, what's actual to one person, I think most people may be different to what's actual to another person. So it would ultimately be arbitrary.
Wait, but that's not proof that it's arbitrary. You're just saying people disagree. That's not evidence that it's arbitrary.
Well, it's evidence that there would be no judge in between you and the other person to ultimately say who's right or wrong.
Well, I mean, I mean, I guess you could just infer who's right or wrong based off how rational one interpretation is and how much it corresponds with reality, for instance, right? Like, I don't see what's wrong with that, and that does not have to appeal to any sort of like God or something.
So there's a lot of loaded. So you're just granting yourself a lot of terms that you haven't justified yet. How do you know? How do you know? First of all, how do you know what is reasonable? Right?
I'm saying you
reasonable.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying
reasonable. Yeah. What is reasonable?
What I'm saying a little bit. Okay.
Sure,
I mean, reasonable. You want me to tell you what a reason is? I don't fucking know, like a fucking explanation, or if you want like a definition of an argument, like a series of premises that reach a logical conclusion.
Bonson asks a question that I found really interesting, which is he asks the class a question. He says, "What makes reason reasonable? What does it mean to be reasonable?"
Okay, by reason I just mean an argument.
Hold on, dude. Okay, dude, take a breath. Okay, relax, calm down, sit down. Let me talk fully, and then you can talk, and then I'll talk. Let's just, you're speaking really fast, and you're really excited, so just calm down, okay? Let's have a conversation. So, Bonson, he asks the question to the class, and he says, what makes reason reasonable? What does that even mean? And this goes back to my other explanation, which I was saying, well, what is reasonable is going to be based on your theory of belief and your theory of reason. So it may be reasonable to you that whatever I can measure is what we should reasonably believe, right? So if I can demonstrate that it's better to kill this many people because then this many people will live, right? that can be like an empirical form of reasoning. Like, this seems most reasonable because the net outcome is this, right? But you may have a different system of belief. You may have a reason, you may have a belief where it's like, well, I have more of a realist belief, or I have more of a pragmatic belief. Okay.
Okay, can I talk now if that's fine? Okay.
Nope. Now you're muted. Yeah. So if you're going to be rude, then we're just going to be done. So, yeah.
So what was wrong with Joseph or monkeyboy?
Mm-hmm.
What was wrong with his line of questioning?
Who is that?
The guy with the kind of I guess the inverted colors of his profile picture.
I don't know who you're talking about.
No, you guys are just making shit up.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Oh, yeah, no, that guy's super cringe. I don't wish to speak to him. He doesn't speak like a normal person. He's like trying to like meta and like win a debate. It's like cringe. He just doesn't want to like have a conversation. So, yeah.
I think he's like willing to. I think he's like willing to like you and me.
No, that's okay. I'm fine.
Well, this is kind of like a meta conversation, though, right? Like, it is philosophical and it is going to be technical.
Okay, so which one of you is an atheist?
I'm an atheist. Pretty much all of us in there, I think, are.
Okay, so let's do one at a time. And then we'll see. Hey, what's up? I don't know who that is, but hello. We'll do one at a time.
Are you like? What is the reason though? Like, why not talk to him?
Because I don't like him. I think he's a jerk. I've heard many of his videos where he's debating with people, and I don't think it would be very productive. Like, I'm not here to try to convince a Nazi to stop killing Jews. So why would I convince someone who's like a complete staunch atheist, locked in their position, and is literally just going to try to win a conversation by any means necessary? I want to talk to people that are actually like, okay, guys, I'm not Darth. I'm not here to like stroke my ego and to like, embarrass people and yell at people. I'm here to hopefully bring people to Jesus Christ. So if somebody's like this staunch atheist that, they're stuck in their ways, look, that's more power to you. I really want to talk to people who are more like open, want to have a general conversation, understand my position, I understand their position, and maybe we part ways and we don't agree. But I don't want to be doing this arguing meta, like antisocial debate behavior. I know that's like what people do, but I'm not that person. So
hey Kay, how are you?
I'm down to talk.
Man?
I think we almost had a conversation once before, and then you got really fixated on pronouns. So I would actually really like that conversation with you about God. Yeah, you got really fixated on that I have they them pronouns instead of actually talking to me about God. But I would be actually willing to talk to you about God now if you would like.
Wait,
sure. So why don't you believe in God?
I think there's a lot of inductive propositions that lead me to the belief that God, or at least the Christian characteristic or characterization of God, does not exist.
Mm-hmm. Like?
There's a lot of archaeological evidence that doesn't match up with the biblical text. There's a lot of philosophical problems.
Can you give me something specific that I can deal with?
Yeah, for sure. So, like, for example, we have no archaeological evidence for a Exodus, right? The book of Exodus purports that I think it was like something like 60,000 men or 600,000 soldiers are fighting Israelite men. Got up and went out of Egypt, which would suggest that the numbers roughly would equate to about 3 million people, Israelites living in Egypt at the time. We just don't have evidence of that.
Mm-hmm. Just because we don't have it, does that mean it doesn't exist?
No, but it would be awfully strange if 3 million people got up and there would be no record of it, right?
Okay, I don't know. I'm not an expert on like the movements of people of mass and what kind of evidence that would leave behind. I have no idea. But is there some okay, let me ask you this. If the Christian God were real, would you believe in him? Would you worship him?
Well, if he were real, then I would probably believe in him. The question is more so about worship, right?
Yeah, would you worship him? Would you submit your will to him? Would you do as he says? Would you love him as Jesus Christ instructed you to? I just want to know.
Are we taking the Christian God to mean the God that carried out the actions within the Old Testament?
The Christian God. The totality of the Christian God in the Old and New Testament as purported by the Catholic Church.
All right, lovely. Probably not, no. I think he's very amoral.
Okay. Why is that?
He purports the killing... First of all, he promises land to people. He promises land to people that's already occupied by Canaanites, and then he instructs the prophets to go in and slaughter and kill men and children. In order to get that land. I think that's highly immoral, and I don't see how an all-good God can instruct people to do that. And even if it is the case that we somehow do some ethics memes where God ends up being all good because the Canaanites are evil or whatever, I'm not so sure if genocide is an appropriate response to any cultural practices that the Canaanites could have been practicing at the time.
What standard do you base your morality on?
The standard I base my morality on is probably my own internal empathy for other people.
Mm-hmm. Could your own internal empathy for other people, which is your standard, be evil?
It could be, yeah. I would say that, it depends on who I'm empathetic towards, right? Or it depends on what I'm empathetic towards. I would say that my sense of empathy, I tend to promote human sociality. So, like, I tend to prefer social systems that enhance or expand human sociality. So that's going to be things like not killing people. That's going to be things like not unjustified murder. Not even taking care of brain damaged people is a big one as well. And even I would even say that vegan morality is entailed under this position as well, because I think that taking care of social animals expands sociality.
All right, let's deal with one of those things. Could unjustified murder be good?
No.
So are you saying no objectively or no from your subjective morality?
Obviously, I'm working within a subjective framework.
Okay, so then the answer to the question would be yes, right?
No, it would be no.
So I'm asking you, objectively, could killing innocent people be good?
I don't think there's an objective standard to base it off of.
Okay, so if, let's say I say, right,
okay,
I think killing innocent people is good.
Okay.
Would that be evil?
Yes.
Just from your perspective, though, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not inherently evil or objectively evil. It's just from your perspective it's evil.
Well, it doesn't have to be, how do I say it? It doesn't have to be objectively evil in order for me to convince other people it's a bad idea, right?
Well, we're not talking about convincing people. We're talking about if this thing is actually good. So you have objected to a moral decision that God has made from a subjective moral standard in which you admit that you could be completely wrong about. And I would hope you would be honest and admit that every single standard you currently possess could actually be as moral as the standard Hitler had.
I would actually disagree with that. And I would actually even say, too, that the quote-unquote objective standard that you're appealing to is subjective as well. So if God,
that's a different, yeah.
If God dictated morality, then that would also be subjective morality as well.
Yeah, but hold on. Let's deal with, I don't know, you're probably not doing it on purpose, but let's try to interlock and stay on one thing at a time. Okay. Can I ask you, what do you think the point I'm trying to make is?
The point that you're trying to make is that my subjective morality is on par or equal to every other subjective morality.
Mm-hmm. And do you disagree with that?
In terms of moral weight, I think I would agree to that. Like, all of our subjective moral systems have equal weight, obviously, within our own eyes. Mm-hmm. But that's not.
So is it very possible that what God has done in the Old Testament that you deem as evil is actually good?
No.
Okay, so now you've contradicted yourself.
I have not contradicted myself.
So, do you remember what you said about, I asked you what is my argument, and then you said that every moral standard is subjective. So, are you saying you don't feel like you contradict yourself because you are accusing God's morality of being subjective?
I'm saying I'm not contradicting myself because you're asking me what is the objective value of this, right? But the thing is that if I don't think that objective value exists for that proposition,
okay,
I don't know how to give the answer to that.
Okay, so I will be more than happy to help you out with that. But let me ask you first, just for a hypothetical, if I could prove to you God's morality was objective, is the statement I made prior to this, which then I said that you have demonstrated a contradiction, would you say that then you would have demonstrated a contradiction?
Real quick, let's go over that again. So you're saying that if you can prove that God's morality is objective, right? Then I would.
Well, let's just grant that God's objective. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say God's morality is objective.
Okay.
Then what I said earlier about, so if all of your opinions, if every person, right, so you and anyone else who holds to their own subjective moral standard, were to go up against God who has an objective moral standard, is it possible that the very moral standards that you deem gods, by the very standard that you deem a god immoral, he could actually be moral and you could be the immoral one.
Under the proposition that God's morals are objective, yeah.
Okay, so God's morals are objective because God does not choose. He doesn't sit there and point the finger and say, okay, this thing is moral, this thing is not moral, which is what a subjective moral frame is, right? Subjectivity means that, well, objectivity means without opinion, right? So subjectivity would be the converse of that, which would mean that it is with opinion. So when you say I have subjective morality, you're saying that I have my moral compass and my moral conclusions, or whatever other word, are based on my opinion. So God's morality is not subjective, because God's morality, and this is what the Bible tells us, is that God's morality is a very expression of his essence. So when we talk about God, okay, we talk about God's essence, and then we talk about his personhood, and each personhood has a different function. But God's essence is by its nature good. So I had someone earlier ask me a question, another VC, what is evil? And I said, well, what is evil is anything that is in opposition to God's essence. And then he said, what is good? And I said, anything that comports with God's essence. So without God, there is really no category of good and evil. It would just be a word we ascribe to any particular event or occasion that we feel fits that definition, which is morally wrong, right?
That's just how every word in the English language works. But also, too, I don't understand what you mean by God's morality is his essence. That just sounds like what would be improper about me saying that my morality is an extension of my essence. Like, my essence leads me to believe in certain things, or to hold certain propositions. How is this any different? How is God not making an opinion? Or not
because you did not create the categories of good and evil. You don't sustain them. You don't uphold them. God, in his essence, he creates what we even think is evil or not evil. Without God, there is no such thing as evil or not evil. It would just be us doing things and people saying, I don't like that thing and I don't like that thing. But there would be no true evil, which raises a ton of questions. Was Hitler really wrong? Was the United States really right? Was Al-Qaeda, when they flew a plane into the buildings, really wrong, or were they really right? And then I guess from you would say is, I guess it would depend on my perspective, right? So from a Middle Eastern perspective, you would say 9/11 was a great job. That was moral. I'm glad they killed those infidels.
I wouldn't say that.
I'm saying no. Try to hear what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, from a certain perspective, I'm not saying yours. From a certain perspective, there'd be people that would praise what Al-Qaeda did on 9/11, right?
Yeah,
they would say, yes, good, kill those infidels, right?
Yeah, this can happen even under, even if objective morality did exist, though. We could have people.
No, okay, hold on. We keep okay. It's extremely hard to have a conversation with you when you keep moving the goalposts around and we're not sticking on one thing.
What situation
I'm trying to
did I move the goalpost?
I'm trying to make a point to you. Okay. And instead of just answering my questions and seeing where it will lead us, you want to divert to something else. So I'm asking a very direct question. I said, and then you answered it and then added a bunch of other stuff. So I'm just asking you a very direct question. I was saying, from a certain perspective, okay, would people praise, are there people that would think that what Al-Qaeda did on 9/11 was good? Would they go, yay, kill the infidels?
Yes, once again, but this doesn't contradict any.
Okay, right. And see, there's more words coming out of your mouth, and we don't care about those. We don't really need those because I'm making my argument and I'm having you answer me questions. So, I mean, we can stop the conversation if you don't like it.
Well, but no, what I'm just saying to you, what I'm just pointing out is that even if it's the case that God's objective morality does exist, you could still have people who are mistaken, right? You could still have people.
Okay, yeah. So I think we're about done with
mute
that.
him. Mute
him. Get him out. Mute him. Yeah. So
that's right.
So what I was trying to explain to him is that, and this is a very, this is like a slam dunk for theists. There's so many atheists, like true professional atheists that do atheist apologetics, that would admit that the moral argument for God is like one of the strongest. Because the true, once you get rid of all the,
it's the worst.
Once you get rid of all the fluff, Oh my
Wait,
god.
KaySan, you have a professional atheist in here who's willing to talk.
The host is speaking. Oh my god. Why is he speaking when he's the host? Oh my god. Okay, well then you could just get muted. I mean, if you don't like it, then you just get muted. That's it.
That's right.
So I'm the host. I'm in control of the room. So I'm going to speak more than you guys.
do me a
I'm going to be controlling. I'm going to be controlling these conversations. Okay.
Yeah, mute the trolls.
If you don't want to participate in that, then that's fine. Just leave. That's totally fine. But I'm the host. I am going to be in control. I know you're all control freaks and we're all a little bit narcissistic, but you're going to have to accept that if you want to be in this room. Okay. So anyway, so the point that I was trying to make to him, which we all know, and it's just a game to really try to play semantics, is that when you judge God, okay, when you say, this thing in the Bible, I don't like that. You know, I don't like what God did. I think that's evil. You are, first of all, you're not being honest, and you're not really looking at it from a perspective that would actually allow you to make that assertion. Because when you make that assertion, you should, if you're honest, look at yourself first and say, well, I guess I just don't like it from my understanding of things, right? My understanding of morality. So to object to God's morality with your own morality, or anyone's morality for that matter, would really just be pointless, because you're just saying, well, I don't like what you're doing because I just don't like it. Okay, well, Hitler didn't like that the Jews were living, so he killed them. And you didn't like that Hitler was killing the Jews, so you killed him. So, you know, you guys are on an even moral playing ground or field when you talk to anyone, right?
What if I just say, like, my standard is the right standard? Whatever I think is what should be done. What's the contradiction? Go ahead.
So if you say my standard is the right standard, you would never be able to prove that.
Oh, I mean, it's just made true by, like, my desires or my preferences.
Okay, so God just exists. Do we just want to do circular reasoning, or?
Wait, I don't know if that answers the question.
No one's going to accept that as valid form of reasoning.
Yeah, they don't like when you do it back to them.
Yeah, then no one's gonna say, oh, you said you're right and I'm wrong. Okay, like, you can never prove that your moral standard is better than anyone else's.
Well, the claim isn't whether it's like better.
Wait, what's the argument for that?
No, he said, he said, how do I? What if I just affirm? He said, what? No, I didn't actually. He made the claim. He said, what if I just say that my moral standard is correct? Right? That's how the conversation started.
And then
he said, what if I just say?
Said you're not going to be able to prove it, and then that's a claim, right?
Okay.
So why do I have to prove it though? Like, I don't. Like,
well, I live in a world where
if
we say things, we should be able to prove them, right? We should be able to at least give some reasoning for it. I don't think that we should just live in a world where we circularly reason to everything. I'm the king of the world because I'm the king of the world.
What's the argument for the necessary condition for intelligibility?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, sorry. It's just that my feelings are like the necessary condition for intelligibility.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So it's like any other sort of framework that I can, like, prove things through. Well, none of that's going to be intelligible, right? Because as long as it's not predicated on my feelings, well, there is no necessary condition for intelligibility met.
Okay, that's great for you, bud.
I guess
anyway,
I'm assuming you agree with that. Then? Like, you have, like, no rebuttal to an atheist argument. Jesus.
Yeah. No, why would I entertain this absolutely ridiculous notion that you're putting forward? That you are the reason we have intelligibility. That's
no. I'm the reason. No, you're misunderstanding. I'm the reason intelligibility is not like we have intelligibility. Right, it's just like intelligibility is, like, conceptually intelligibility doesn't exist.
First of all, you don't actually
predicated on my feelings.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste my time. Why you don't actually believe that? So
wait, why do you think that? Do you have like a proof of that?
Okay.
KaySan. Also, KaySan, this person named Moxie was also trolling a lot. You might want to mute.
KaySan, man.
Let's mute everyone. You know what? Mute KaySan.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no. So, so the moral argument is kind of boring because it's just been defeated like so many times. I mean, from an atheist perspective, you have to admit that your morality is completely subjective and based on your own opinion, and it's influenced by your culture and the time and your upbringing and a ton of different factors, none of which make them objective, right? So,
sure.
If for you to object to something that happens in the Bible, I think you're missing the point. What you should be focused on is does this God actually exist? Because if the God actually exists, then you are the one that's wrong. Your moral framework is wrong and his is right. Because as I was trying to explain, God's morality is not subjective. It's not his opinion that murdering is wrong. It is the very expression of goodness. What is goodness? Goodness is God. Jesus tells us in the scriptures that God is good. God is the only good thing. So when you say something is good, it's not good unless you are attributing it to God. So yeah.
Hey, KaySan, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. I just wanted to talk to you. I'll try to temper down my narcissism a little bit, like you said.
That'd be great.
I don't believe in God. Is there a problem with me not believing in God?
For me, I couldn't not believe in God. I don't think it would be reasonable for me not to believe in God. I think that there are so many reasons to believe in God that I think it would just be me wanting to like be my own boss, basically, or my own God. Would be the only reason that I would ever become that. So, yeah, I would say there's a problem on many different, for many different reasons. I think not only like just personally, but you are part of a larger like ethos, right? So I think like atheism, I feel is very dangerous for the world. I think that would, if the same amount of theists that there are today, which is about 97%, right, or 93%, I believe, of the world population is some form of theist, right? If that was flipped over and it was like 90%, 97% of people were atheist or agnostic, and 3% were theist, I think that we would probably be extinct already. So,
Yeah, I just want to say I agree that we should like act morally, right, for ourselves and for society.
But what is morally? You know what I mean? That's my problem. It's like, what does that mean though? What does it mean to act morally?
I don't know. I guess I would say maybe more precisely, I agree we should probably act in a way that's like conducive to upholding society, because I don't know that there is an objective morality, nor a reason to believe in God, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. That just gets like really sticky, because how do we determine which moral, like a lot of times with moral decisions, it seems like in history, we don't know if we've made the right decision till like years later, and now the damage has already been done, and some of that damage is like irrevocable, right? So like today, for instance, people that are making certain moral arguments and then putting that moral standard into law and into the running of the country, are like letting a bunch of illegals in the country. We won't know until later if that was the right decision or not. So that's why I think that it's much like religion gives us a much more concrete, foundational, realistic moral standard in which we can all adhere to. And the other thing about the Christian religion, the morals, is like we all know that these morals are like true. Like every single one of us knows that we shouldn't kill innocent people. We shouldn't, we should love our neighbor. We shouldn't steal. We shouldn't have sex with our family members. Like, you know what I mean? Like we all know, whether we want to admit it or not, that the best possible way of conducting ourselves sexually is within the sanctity of a marriage. I mean, and this is even like shown in data, right? Like the most prosperous time in history has been when we had the family where it was the man, the woman, and children within the marriage, right? We look at statistics of like children born within couples who are married and outside, right? So,
sure.
I digress.
I understand. I guess like I'll say like this, because like I think what I'm really interested in is, even if I like take what you say to be true, which I think there might be like nuggets of truth in it, that perhaps there are a lot of inconveniences or a lot of uncomfortabilities in living in a world with no objective morality or no God. I guess what I'm interested in is to me that just sounds like believing in God is convenient, and maybe that is the case, but I'm really curious, is there like a reason to believe in God that doesn't stem from like our convenience or our comfortability? Is there a reason to believe that not believing in God doesn't allow us to have a coherent...
I will take Dr. Van Til's advice here, and I will first start by showing and trying to show you your own presuppositions. Would you mind maybe illustrating for me some of your presuppositions?
In regards
or I can help you identify them. Just the world, your worldview. You do admit that you have some, right?
Yeah, I don't like. I probably exist. Like what I'm experiencing is probably real.
Right.
Like accurate
So
depictions
that's
of
something
reality.
that you can't. Right. So that's something you can't necessarily justify, but you kind of accept it to be the case because you kind of have to. Right.
Can I clarify something?
Sure.
Yeah, I believe in making as few presuppositions or assumptions as possible, right? I think that's probably like a good metric to use. Like, I believe making unnecessary assumptions is probably where I draw the line. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we should all. I mean, we should all try to do that as much as possible. I think my issue is. Like you're assuming everything about life, right?
Could you illustrate that in a way that's exclusive for atheists and not for theists?
Yeah.
Like how yeah.
I mean, one we usually hit on is like sense perception. Like I was having a conversation with some other people the other day in another server, and I was asking them, without your sense perception, could you identify a contradiction? And they said yes, but I honestly, I never got that response before, so I wasn't really sure how to answer it. But I actually thought about it for the next couple of days, and I was like, wait, no, that actually doesn't make any sense. Because if you don't have any of your senses, then you would have never learned anything at all. Like, you can't do Braille, you can't do... I mean, you don't have senses. Like, how are you interacting with the world? You know what I'm saying? So you couldn't do that. So
may I ask,
I think one of the things...
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask because, like, what I'm really curious about is, okay, like I understand like the presuppositionalist argument that atheists are kind of exclusively limited in what they can do. Like they're assuming everything about the reality, assuming everything's like an accurate depiction, assuming their sense perception. But like, what I'm always curious is like when I ask the theist, okay, under your worldview with God, how do you get separated from this problem you're making about atheists? I don't think I get a satisfying answer. Like that's what I'm really curious about.
Gotcha.
What separates you from atheists?
Well, I don't know if it'll be satisfying, but I'll give you my answer, and this is my understanding of it. So the thing that I think separates us is that I truly believe I exist. I truly believe that me and you are talking. Like, I don't think I could be wrong about that. I don't think that I could be wrong about the love I have for my mom or my sisters or my brothers, right? Like, I don't think I could be wrong about that. So, like, for me, the most reasonable... really the only way, and I think Descartes was like onto this, right? He was basically saying that I only know what I see. But the way he thought about it was like, as far as my understanding, I'm not an expert, but that I know what I'm seeing, but then he goes, but I can't justify it. And I think that's ridiculous. Like, you know what you're seeing is real. You know we're talking right now. But so when I think about, okay, but how do I ultimately account for that? Because I have to account for it in some way. The only explanation would be that, like I have to hold on to something that is definite and that is objective and that is like I can't be wrong about. So if I'm thinking about from like an atheist worldview, if I assume an atheist worldview, I can never really ultimately know anything. Which seems to
you're making just to clarify, because like you're saying that you can believe things certainly, whereas we can't. But like I'm just curious, like you're saying you're grasping onto some sort of ultimacy to make that distinction, that being God.
Let me just ask you: does it bother you that you don't know anything for certain?
No, I don't hold myself to a standard of certainty for most things.
Yeah, and I noticed that, and I think that's the big thing that will separate people that are like open to theism and that aren't. Because I have this same exact conversation with one of my longest friends, and we kind of got to that understanding last night, which is where I'm like, I don't think I could live my life if I didn't know any. Like, it seems like, and even like my religious, like the type of religion, like the fact that I want to hold on to the Catholic Church, like for me, it makes the most sense because when I think about like dogmas and doctrine that are defined in the church, I know that they can't be wrong. There's something about me that I feel uncomfortable if I don't know something, not everything, but like some fundamental things. I have to know for sure to believe in them.
Yeah, can I bring up something?
How do you? Because like I'm still curious. So like it seems like you're grasping onto like this ultimate idea of God as kind of your way to validate that these things are certain. But like what I'm not understanding is when you're interacting, because you're having an interaction between yourself and your faith, between yourself and the God that you're appealing to. My thing is, how are you certain that your interactions with these things, how are you certain those interactions are 100% accurate? Like how, like for example, some people bring up God revealing itself to them. How are you certain 100% that your interactions with God's revelations are 100% accurate? How do you know that?
Because if I wasn't certain of that, I couldn't be certain about anything. Being that I'm certain about certain things, I can be certain that God exists because He's the only thing that is certain, right?
So
but it's in a more simplistic way, I would just say it would be like reductio ad absurdum. So it can't be any other way. So it must be this way.
But it can be any other way. Like it could be that you just can't be certain about anything, and there'd be no contradiction about.
Well, then, yeah, because how would you be certain about that statement you just made? You just made a certain statement that you can't be certain about anything. How does that? That's a contradiction.
I didn't make a certain statement about that. I said that that's a conceivable other alternative method that you just denied. You said there was no other conceivable alternative method.
Are you certain about that?
I don't think I need to be. I think you're presupposing I need to be. That's the point.
Well, then if it's just a guess that you're throwing up in the air, then I guess anything could be, right? You could be wrong.
I'm just saying. You're rejecting this alternative path, right? But in your rejection, you're just saying, well, it seems absurd. I don't see how it's absurd.
No, it's not. It doesn't seem absurd. It is absurd. That's my argument. My argument is that it would be absurd.
It being absurd doesn't mean it can't be true.
I'm not clear how it follows either. That because it's not ascertained, it's like it follows. It's like a guess.
Not ascertained. When did we use that word?
Yeah, you said if it's not certain, then you're just throwing up a guess in the air. You said that verbatim. Right, so I just want to know what's, like, by your lights, how do you cash out, like, the phrase guess?
Well, what I'm saying is that I think, for me, I have to be certain about things that are fundamental in my world. Because if you're not certain about things that are fundamental in your world, then you can't be certain about anything.
How's that an answer to my question?
Wait, really quickly. Like, here's my thing, though. It seems like you're saying, like, this is the standard you hold yourself to. I get that, and I respect it, but I guess I'm curious, why do you think that this is the standard that everybody should be held to? Like, what's the absurdity of me holding a different standard?
Wouldn't you advocate for something you feel is correct? Like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't I? If I believe you're going to go to hell if you don't
isn't that just an admittance of...
Why should I say, like, oh, well, you could believe something else? Like, no, that's what I believe. And
but when you say that, isn't that just a admittance of bias? Like, you're saying, of course I'm going to advocate for my position. It's my position.
Well, I'd say, I don't know if I would call it bias, but I would say that we're all biased, right? By that definition of biased, then we're all biased about everything. Like, I don't know. I guess it's not a bias. It's my position, and I truly hold to it, and I will defend it. But for you to say, like, well, how do you know it couldn't be any other way? Well, I just explained to you. I think any other way would be absurd. Therefore, this can be the only way, right? And I think that you would have to...
Yeah, I know, but like I'm saying that the standard in which you say it's absurd is a standard that's only true if you presuppose that your worldview that you're putting forward is true. That's to say that it's circular. It's a standard that's not yet been justified. It's a self-justifying standard, is what I'm saying.
Well, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
I mean, like, but like, why should anybody
wrong with circular reasoning? Like, at the end of every logic tree or every reason train is going to be, like, I think it's like 3 different forms, right? It's either going to be like a tautology or like a circular, or it's going to be like an axiom, right? Like, there's going to be, like, at the end of the road,
trilemma works.
If there's like at the end of the road, like, there's no other, like, I exist because, like, or like I use the milk example. So, I usually use the king of the world example. So, like, if I say I'm the king of the world, and then you ask me justify that, and I say because I'm the king of the world. Well, that's circular reasoning. However, what if I was actually the king of the world? Then it's a valid form of circular reasoning, even though it's circular. It doesn't necessarily.
Wait.
Can I ask a bit of a clarifying? Sorry. Can I ask a bit of a clarifying question? If you're agreeing that it's reducible to circularity, and that to some extent you are just presupposing this view, isn't that an admittance that you're not 100% certain that something else could be the case? Right?
No, so I think, and this is why people get confused, because, like, even Van Til's book is called, like, presuppositional apologetics. So they're like, oh, see, he said presupposition. But wouldn't it be, like, kind of oxymoronic that the person, like, Van Til is trying to make this argument that this is the only way, yet he calls it a presupposition? Like, he obviously knows that. But so he means presupposition in a different sense. He means that we presuppose it because it couldn't be any other way. So it is like it verifies, like, our experience verifies it. You know, because and the laws of logic and reason, they verify it because there's no other way to explain reality or reason. There's no other way to explain it.
Well, to be clear, there are other ways. You were just making the argument that the other ways are incompatible with your worldview, which is fine. What I'm trying to point out is that
remember I said they're absurd.
Yeah, like as in absurd as in incompatible with what you believe. That being certainty is like some kind of
unreasonable, like irrational. Yeah, so they couldn't be.
So what I'm trying to point out is that in my worldview, where I don't need certainty, absolute certainty to believe something, it seems infinitely more compatible for me to make presuppositions where I admit, yeah, it's possible I'm wrong, but I don't hold myself to a certain standard. It seems infinitely more problematic when you hold yourself to a 100% certainty standard, and yet you're willing to admit that there are some things that you just have to presuppose that you can't hash out through reason. One seems more problematic for your worldview than it does for mine.
I didn't say that. I said that there are things that we do presuppose God, but not in the same sense that you're presupposing an axiom, right? Like when you presuppose an axiom, it's unjustified. It's not. You're not saying, well, I presuppose the axiom. You know, I presuppose the axiom that my sense perceptions are basically reliable because it couldn't be any other way. Via a reductio ad absurdum. No, that's not true. Your senses could just be unreliable. But what we're saying is we presuppose God's existence, right? Because via a reductio ad absurdum, because it couldn't be any other way. Like there's no other way to ground anything without presupposing God.
This is the last question I'll ask, and then I'll pass it off.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation. See, look, this guy didn't get muted, and we had a good conversation. He was polite. He let me talk. You know, I let him talk, and it was good.
That's because when other people made good objections, you muted them.
Oh, geez. I'll say, would you at least be willing to acknowledge that when you say that, like, the contrary is impossible, that it's inconceivable for others to be possible, what you're saying is that that's only true if we assume or presuppose your worldview first, that God exists first, that 100% certainty is necessary first?
No.
You wouldn't say that.
No, I'm saying that in order... Well, I'm a little bit confused with what you were just saying, but I think you're trying to go back to this point. Basically, let me try to steelman you to see if I can understand what you're saying. Basically, what you're saying is that you just presuppose God because it answers these questions and allows you to have certainty about things. So you just presuppose it, but you don't have an actual way of justifying it.
I think that's part of it, yeah.
That's like pretty much what you're saying, yeah. So what I'm saying is no. That we don't, so we presuppose it in a sense, but not in the sense that you're thinking. The sense that you're thinking is a presupposition that when you're playing blackjack, and if you play a perfect game...
Look, can you just present an argument for like epistemic infallibilism? Like, I'm tired of this crap. Like, can you actually present an argument for epistemic infallibilism?
So go touch grass, go outside, breathe some fresh air for once, remove the stains from your computer seat and try to, use the bathroom
just give an argument.
3 days, okay? Wait, why is he unmuted?
KaySan, I have a question.
Because I'm like God.
Okay, Neon?
Yeah, I'm God, right? So don't mute me.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it off. Thanks for your time.
Dakota, can you take care of this dude, please?
Yeah, actually, how are people getting unmuted?
So KaySan.
Oh yeah, Nightbot.
Hold on. Actually, mine is relevant.
No, I'm good. I don't want to speak to him either yet.
KaySan, can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Wait, no. Talk with Nightbot for a bit.
Yeah, wait. Oh fuck. Goons, are you there?
Yeah.
Do you know how people are able to unmute themselves?
Why don't you talk to me, KaySan? What problem?
Stop doing that.
I think everybody stop unmuting.
No more unmuting.
Don't unmute, guys.
Moxie, you're getting muted again. You're getting muted, Moxie.
I don't know what KaySan had with me. I don't know.
Okay, wait. Is KaySan here? Oh, KaySan left.
He left.
What the fuck?
For some reason, presuppers, they leave. Okay, so presuppers leave when I come to them.
Because his mod was undone.
Oh my god.
Who keeps muting people? What the hell?
Clash of the egos, man.
Fuck, dude.
No, once everyone who was muting was getting unmuted. He ran.
You guys are super unfair, by the way. I don't think that guy's is Darth Dawkins bad. You're actually allowing me to ask questions.
He's actually a stupid retard, and you're being way too charitable.
That's one thing that I have noticed, bro, is that some people in this bro, they love muting. Holy shit, that is way more common here. Oh my god, everyone.
I suppose.
I haven't had a debate here where I haven't been server muted. It's fucking insane, dude. People can't bro.
Jack,
there's people can't assert their own rhetoric to make another person shut the fuck up. It's terrible.
Alright, he's here.
Such an anime retard.
He is an anime retard.
I am an anime retard.
All right, hold on, chill, guys. All right, so when hold on, just
wait, Goons, why are you bringing anime idiots here?
Chill. All right, hold on. So KaySan, if you mute somebody, mods, we can't unmute him. This is just like his room, right? So we can't unmute him. Like, just make a different VC or go to a different VC because he's like the dictator of this one right now. This is for the recording or whatever. So yeah, go ahead, KaySan.
Appreciate it. Okay. So anyone else? Who's next?
Me or Dakota, you could choose.
Also,
or yeah, actually, Eric.
Oh, what's up, Balance?
What's up?
Wait, didn't I talk to you already?
I don't know.
Okay.
Eric, your mic is like fucked.
Yeah, your mic's really bad.
Oh shit. Let me switch to my phone. Hold on.
Okay.
Yo, KaySan, you misunderstood me for someone else. I was the one who interrupted you.
I don't remember. I don't. There must have been.
Yeah, you muted him when Moxie overtalked him.
I don't even know who you are.
And he told you to shut up.
A guy named Moxie interrupted you. That wasn't me.
KaySan.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't. Yeah.
Is my mic like horrible?
No, it's good.
No, it's fine now, actually.
Okay. Oh yeah, what I was asking, because like, I mean, man, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You like hold the view that God is sort of like a requirement for knowledge or something, right?
Necessary component for intelligibility. Yeah.
Do you have like a theory of knowledge that you defend?
Yeah, transcendental.
Could you lay that out?
Sure. So, I mean, you're familiar with epistemology, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, transcendental form of reasoning in this case would be that my theory of knowledge comports with the mind of God. So, things that I know for sure, or the things that I know, are instantiated by God. So, the first thing I know is that God exists, and then everything from that, everything like derives from that, right? Now, this is contrary to, let's say, like a pragmatic form of, or any other different type of belief system. Because every other type of belief system, it would pretty much just be whatever makes that person like feel most comfortable, but it's ultimately like unjustified. Like, what is your belief system? Like, what is your epistemology, would you say?
Well, okay, because there's like a few things I guess I could say.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
For my view on what like the conditions are for knowledge, like under what conditions do people know things? I mean, I'm just sort of like, contextualist about that stuff, which is just like to unpack that term. I hold some view where, whatever the conditions for knowledge are, they like differ depending on the context. So I don't know, maybe in some cases, like when I say I know something, I might just mean I'm really confident. Maybe there's some cases where when I say I know things, like, I mean, I couldn't be wrong. And maybe there's cases where when I say I know things, I just mean I have a JTD.
Totally agree. Well, so my argument would be that, because I agree, I believe I have those categories as well. Like, and I was actually going to make that clear, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say, now this doesn't mean I know everything. Doesn't mean I know the answer to the test question. But I know, for instance, that like I'm made in the image of God. I know that I'm on the planet that He made. I know that I basically can, trust the things that I'm seeing and hearing. But I would disagree that you have that ability. I would say that you would have to justify how you have that ability. I would say that every belief that you have is a belief that you're really not sure about to any degree.
And by not sure about there, you mean like what, that I'd have like some confidence of 100 or something? Like I'm just like,
yeah. So when I use the word for the purposes of this conversation, would it be okay if we use the word certain to mean 100% knowledge?
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't know what 100% knowledge means, because I don't think of like knowledge in terms of degrees.
Does your mother exist?
Sorry?
Does your mother exist?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you 100% certain about that?
No.
No. Okay. So
Yeah,
your
like,
mother.
speaking.
Wait. So it's possible your mother never existed?
Yeah. There's some possible world where my mother.
So then, if it's possible your mother never existed, then it's possible you don't exist, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's possible you don't exist?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, there's some some like logical.
You see what they do?
Okay. So yeah. So I'm not laughing at you. it's just kind of a little bit funny. But I appreciate you being honest. I really do, and I don't think you know what you just said. So we'll talk a little bit further. But this is our point. Well, hold on. Can I just lay something out real quick? So this is kind of our point. Our whole point is, from an atheist or agnostic perspective, you don't truly know for certain anything, which means that any degree of certainty that you have about a particular thing, you're really just feigning at a percentage of knowledge. You're just saying, well, I just feel like it's 50%. I'm 50% sure that it's raining outside. But really, if you go all the way back to your very foundational beliefs, which is I exist, if you don't even know that, then how do you know how certain you are that it's raining outside?
Well, I mean, I don't, in my view, certainty isn't like some requirement for knowledge. Yeah, also, what I was wondering too was, because I'm just trying to figure out if you think what I said was false. Do you think there's like, say, some like logically possible world where I don't exist?
Do I think that there's a logically possible world where you don't exist?
Yep.
No, I don't. I don't personally. No, not for my world.
So, okay.
I know you exist. Congratulations, you exist.
Okay, so
okay, sorry. Go ahead. Make your point. No, make your point. Go
ahead. Sorry. So you wouldn't affirm the following proposition. There's like some state of affairs that doesn't entail any logical contradiction, in which maybe my parents they just like never conceived me or something. It just wasn't brought about. Do you think that proposition is false?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Okay. Do you think the following proposition is false? So there is some state of affairs that's non-contradictory, in which, say, like, I don't know, my parents just like never brought me about.
I'm not understanding the question. Goon, do you understand what he's asking?
He's saying, is there like a possible world that he doesn't exist, like where his parents never
From my perspective, no. But we're not talking about my perspective. We're talking about your perspective.
Well, no, because I was clarifying. I substitute possible for like non-contradictory, because I'm just speaking on like the logical modality here.
So just let's speak like we're at like a coffee table. We don't know nothing, and we're both stupid. Like, what's the point you're trying to make here? Like, what are you trying to get at?
Well, I said it was possible that there's some world where I don't exist, and all I really meant by possible there is just there's not a logical contradiction entailed. And then what I was trying to ask you is it sounded like you thought that was like false or something. Like, what I was trying to figure out is whether or not you also think there's some like logically possible world in which I didn't exist, or like some world that doesn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's.
So I don't mind. I don't mind answering questions about my worldview, but when we're examining yours, I would appreciate if we like stayed in yours, so that I can make my point as to why I feel that the current worldview you stand in right now is irrational. Can we do that?
Oh, sure. If you had some further criticism.
Yeah. So I would like you to respond to what we laid out earlier, which was, the fact that you were being very honest, more honest than most of the people I talked to about this. And you said that it's possible that you don't exist.
Yeah.
So if it's possible, so first of all, do you think it's reasonable to assume that you don't exist? Truly, honestly.
I don't think it's reasonable on my.
No, it's not, right? It's not.
Yeah.
You exist, bro. You know you exist.
Yeah.
I know you exist. You know you exist, right? But the question is, the question is, how do we justify this? How do we justify this phenomena that we exist logically, using the laws of logic and using our reason? Well, it seems, since all other worldviews fail to ultimately account for themselves, and the only worldview that can account for itself is the Christian worldview, it seems via a reductio ad absurdum. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so it would seem that via a reductio ad absurdum, that the only possible explanation for your existence, which me and you both know, is that God exists.
I don't see why I grant that. So let's get clear on what I'm granting here. So I hold the view that I exist, and then there's something to be said about whether or not I know that, and then for that, the conditions for knowledge have to be clarified. If the conditions being stipulated are, it's logically impossible for you to be incorrect. Well, I mean, no. There's plenty of true propositions where it's logically possible that they're false, that I have knowledge of.
Okay,
So,
dude, let's not. Yeah, but don't do this like monkey boy like impression. Like, please, like, do you see how I'm just talking to you?
What?
I'm not using these big, like, complicated, drawn out sentences. Like, I'm asking you very straightforward
questions. Which term do you think needs to be clarified there?
You're just a retard.
Well, you're
like,
just
get over
you're
it.
just like bringing out all, dude. I don't even keep. I'm not even keeping up what you're saying.
Example,
like, just make it very simple. Keep it very simple.
Well, which term there were you like confused on?
Dude, I don't even know at all what you said. Nothing. I don't know. Not one thing you said.
Beliefs. Okay, just tell me whenever you like stop understanding. I guess. So we have beliefs, right? Some of those.
Okay, So, well, let's just stop right here because beliefs, right? But we've already talked about, like, in the beginning of our conversation that, like, if we can't be certain about anything. So when we say belief, right? The conversation we're having about now is about what things can we be certain about, and if we can't be certain about anything, then it seems like that would be irrational.
Right. So are you hopping off board with the I have beliefs part? Because I'm just trying to get through the whole point.
What do you mean I have? Yeah.
You said you didn't understand what I said prior. I was just trying to make sure it's like.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. I'll try to understand.
Yeah. So okay, we understand we have beliefs.
Maybe talk slower.
Now,
and like make sure I'm following you.
Okay. Now we understand that some of these beliefs are true, right? And even for some of these beliefs that are true, right? Some of them count as knowledge. But even for some of the beliefs that count as knowledge, like say, just take our belief where, like, I don't know, like the sky is blue or something like that. I think, I mean, you might say I have no basis for it, but presumably, we both at least have the intuition that we know that the sky is blue or something like that. But presumably, there's some like world, some possible world, right, in which it's actually not the case that the sky is blue. So all I'm trying to say here is like the mere.
And how do you know that? And this is my ultimate point.
Before you get there, though, let me just finish.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So the point here is just that there are some propositions we know about. We know that they're true, and it's logically possible that they're false. So it's not some requirement for knowledge that there's like a logical contradiction entailed by the belief being false or something.
How do you know if a proposition is true if you don't know you exist?
I didn't say I don't know whether or not I exist. I said I didn't have certainty. I'm rejecting that knowledge requires certainty. But then,
okay.
Yeah.
Right, but
and to
the
be
whole
clear,
point we're trying to make.
Real quick, by the way, fallibilism. So, by the way, among epistemologists, like the view that knowledge requires certainty is very, very unpopular. Like most are fallibilists. Like,
yeah, that's why the field of philosophy is dead. But if you go back to the ancient Greeks or any time before the modern era, this would not be it would not be an unpopular opinion because the field of philosophy was actually alive and well. But now it's just dead because people have just assumed that God doesn't exist, and from that perspective, there's really nothing philosophically interesting because you can't ultimately just.
A lot of people have reasons.
So
yeah. So anyway, so I understand. So just hold on. So I understand this whole thing where you're like, well, I can know something, and I don't need certainty. Okay. So so this goes to the conversation of like ontology, and that's what we're concerned about. I honestly, dude, the reason I'm a theist partially is because I don't care if, like, it doesn't make me comfortable that, well, I just see it, so whatever. Like, it must, like, that's some form of knowledge. Maybe I don't really know, but it's over. I think that for me is like uncomfortable. Like, I want to know, like, is what I'm seeing actually real? And if you're comfortable living in a world where, like, that's enough for you, it's enough for you just to say, well, I have a certain in a certain way I can believe what I'm seeing, but ultimately I can never know and no one can ever know. If that's the world you want to stick on, sure, but I think the argument we're trying to make here is that we have a positive claim that when we say we know something, certain foundational things, right, we know for certain. So when I say that I know I exist, I'm saying 100% for certain I exist. When you say you exist, you're saying, well, I have a certain belief that I exist. Okay, so then if your certain belief, if your foundational, if the value of your foundational belief, which is that you exist, is just basically like maybe, right? Then that would mean that there's no other belief in that in your life because everything else is instantiated based, from that point. That could be anything. You couldn't have any level of confidence over that very foundational belief. So anything you say past that is just maybe. And I think that I don't. That's not enough for me. I guess I don't. Yeah.
You can actually assign Well, you can assign some probability to like whatever your foundational beliefs are. I mean, this is
not really though.
Well,
not really though, because okay, could you give me a percentage that you feel? Could you give me a percentage in which you are confident about your existence?
Just hold on for a second. And by the way, like, yeah, I'm making an in principle point. I don't know maybe what exactly.
A what?
But I'm making an in principle point. So I mean, maybe.
What's that mean?
Like I'm just saying, it's like possible to do it or whatever. I'm not claiming I like have some like assignment or something like that for the probabilities of like my foundational beliefs. But
so you're just saying you can do it, but you can't actually do it?
That's not what I said.
That's pretty much. I know it's not exactly what you said, but that's pretty much what you said.
I could do X, but I haven't done X.
So can you show us how you can do it? Can you demonstrate it for us? Can you assign a probability? Yeah, can you like assign what's the probability that you exist?
I was gonna explain that, like how we would do it in principle, but I'm telling you I don't have specific assignments. But yeah, so in principle, I mean you can like think of your like structure of beliefs. I mean maybe we disagree on this. I presumably both agree like our minds are finite, like we have a finite amount of beliefs and stuff.
How are you certain of that?
Well, I'm just barring that. I just want to see if like you agree with that.
Well, again, you're trying to push the antithesis, but we're here to talk about your world.
Just like seeing if I have to like motivate that point, or if we already agree with it, and then it'd be like, because if you already agree with it, it might just be a waste of time to argue for that.
Okay, but you understand like you're asking me a question from a completely separate worldview than you adhere to, right? So why would you ask me a question? Because obviously I'm going to say certain things that,
Well,
like,
I think I explained that.
What does it matter what I know? You don't know.
Well, I think the way I was about, or I think I just explained that. It's that, like, presumably, if we already agree on something, I'm not gonna like waste my time arguing for it. It's like if we agree that minds are finite, or maybe if you're like unwilling to answer the question, I'll just like make it conditional.
No, but you're saying we agree, right? So in a like, from my perspective, I think minds are finite, but I don't agree with you because you have no basis for asserting that.
You have an attitude towards the proposition, minds are finite. That's positive. That's all I mean. And it sounds like you do. Okay.
What does it matter?
Yeah, I was just seeing. I think I already answered that twice. Okay, wait. Okay, let's just like go back to what I was saying prior before I was interrupted. So I think that we have a finite amount of beliefs, and given we have some finite amount of beliefs, we can sort of like order them from most probable to least probable, just in principle. Assuming we assign different probabilities to our beliefs, and say that I have some like some belief. I don't know. Like my hands are there, and say I assign that some like 0.5 credence or something like that. What you're able to do there, you could take some like principle of like rational support where it's like for one belief to support another belief, it has to be more probable than that prior belief, and from that you can infer that the beliefs that are the most probable are the ones that are supporting all the other beliefs. So you actually can't really have it as long as you think some beliefs are more probable than other beliefs. You can actually have it where you assign like 0.5 to everything, or whatever, and everything's just a maybe. Now, I mean, if you're like asking me, like, because I might not have some exact probability, but if you're like asking me, like, well, what's my like range of credences, or whatever, in foundational beliefs I have, like, my senses are reliable, I exist, other minds exist, stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, just like 0.95 or something like that. And if you're asking, well, how am I assigning those probabilities? Well, you can get that from the other beliefs that you already have. And then if you're asking, well, what justifies those beliefs? Well, presumably they're not inferentially justified because there's nothing prior in the set that's more probable. They wouldn't be able to be rationally supported.
All right, appreciate the conversation. Let's just move on to someone else.
Yeah, I think this guy named Jax wants to talk to you if you're interested.
Sure.